Thank you for joining me today. So before I head on, I'm just gonna give some time for others to join, if you don't mind. Thank you. Okay, so today we'll be painting two different vases, or containers at least, containing a bouquet of flowers. So this can be for Valentine's. This can be for any time, really, because we can always have flowers all year round. Why not, right? So these are just really easy, really simple, nothing too detailed. Okay, so don't worry, you'll be able to do this. You start with just these simple flowers and just, get the hang of doing the petals. And later on, when you feel like it's too easy for you, then of course you can paint more complicated flowers or more detailed flowers. Okay, so I already drew it beforehand here. So I just lightly drew it. As you can see, just really the basic outlines, nothing too detailed. Okay, so usually when I do watercolor, unless I really plan to paint it in super detail, I don't really do a too detailed drawing, because that's also going to interfere with your painting, especially if you forget to erase some of the darker marks. Okay, so just a general outline just to guide you where you're going to paint, up to this part, this section, and you're good to go. Okay, leave some room for spontaneity too. Just because I did this or you have a reference doesn't mean you have to stick with it 100%. You are free to make it your own way. Okay, so today I'll be using colors from two palettes, from the Classico and then from the Vista. So Classico is my most used palette right now. Okay, but you can mix your own greens. You can use the greens that you already have. It's up to you. Okay, but it's also good to mix your blues and yellows, your different kinds, so you can see what kinds of greens you get, because sometimes you make amazing discoveries. Okay, so I'm just gonna flip down the camera now so that you can see my desk. Okay, let me just flip this down. Okay, and then flip it around. Okay, so I hope you're seeing it the right way now. Let me just move it. Okay, so here is my sketch. I hope you can see it. Okay, so if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm going to zoom this a bit as well, just so you get a closer look, because these are smaller. So we need, I'm going to be working smaller rather than the last time where I painted roses, which had bigger strokes. Okay, so now we'll start with the lighter colors. As usual, the rule with watercolor is you want to start with your lighter colors and then just move there onwards. You can do layering, you can do wet and wet. It's up to you. Me, I'm quite used to doing wet and dry. Okay, so I'm going to start with my flowers, and then I will just add the greens later on. Okay, so I have a mixing plate here. I have a huge one for when I'm doing several colors. Hello, Dawn. I'm so glad you're here again. Okay, so let me just set things up. So I'm not traveling too far. Okay, so sometimes you can also just pop out your colors. That's the nice thing about this new palette of Zen Art, is you can have it like this. And the one thing that I like is it has this, well, it's red at the back, which is cool. It has this nifty ring here where you can actually slide your finger. So if you're outside and you're, for example, plein air painting, you can actually just hold it. It keeps it in place. Okay, but sometimes if you're working here and you want to just pop out your colors, you can do that too. Okay, so I'm just gonna get these colors out just so they're out here. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to use everything, but I'm just going to have them ready. Anyway, you can just go back and forth. But how cool was that, right? You can just pop out these little pans. Okay, so today I'm going to be using brushes from our Turner collection. So I don't even remember the size of this because I use this so often. The writing has been erased. But it's from this collection of 13 brushes and one palette knife. So I'm using this now. It's a squirrel mix because it's softer. So it's going to give me more softer petals. Okay. So if you paint loosely, then you also want to explore your softer hair brushes because, you know, they will be quite easy, less snap. So all the different brushes, they have all their different uses. So for this one, for softer petals, I like to also use the softer hair. Okay, so let's start. Much talk for me. Anyway, if you have any questions, ask away. If you have any questions about something that I'm not even doing, go ahead. Okay, so let's start with this one so that I'm going to move here. So I'm right-handed. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. I'm first going to mix my colors here. Okay. Let me just mix a red-orange mix. Okay, so the thing with red is you have to be careful with how much you add because it can be quite strong. So you have to do it slowly. Okay, so I like it, and I want to make it more pastel-like, so I'm going to add white. Okay, so just remember, if you do add white, it's also going to turn your colors a bit opaque because you don't often use white with watercolor because, like they say, your white is your paper. But if you're going to mix with your other colors, it will give you a more pastel color, but it will also make it more opaque. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But if you don't mind that, if that's what you're looking for, then go ahead. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to paint all the flowers orange, and then I'm just gonna darken it later. Okay, so let's just cover them all. So if you're painting, you know, loose flowers, you have more freedom to just go around and just go over your drawing marks. That's fine because, you know, you're loose painting. So just use the tip of your brush if you're painting small flowers. As you can see, I'm just really using the tip of my brush, and I'm not really going crazy if I go over the lines, or, you know, the lines are just there to guide you. So just fill in your outlines. So whenever I have circular flowers, I also do a circular stroke, and then I just go and fill in the spots. And if you have white parts here and there, sometimes it's also nice to have some negative space on your flowers, some white parts showing through. So you can also explore that. You don't have to color everything in. Okay, so for details, this brush is soft, but it does keep its point. So it's really it's one of the favorite brushes that I use. I think this may be size 5 or 5 to 7. So I'm sure you also have some brushes that you often use. You know, there are particular sizes that are just the perfect size for a lot of work. So usually for me, it's my brushes 7 to 10. Those are the round brushes with sizes 7 to 10, because among different brands, they have different sizing. Oh yeah, I know, right? Yes. Once you've tried nice watercolor paper, then you actually realize that one of the challenges that you've been experiencing is probably because you were using lower quality paper, right? When I was studying in school, of course, I could only afford cheaper paper, and it was a struggle sometimes. And then eventually, when I was able to try more expensive paper, it just really made me realize some of the things that I could never do well was because the paper was actually a big influence. Okay, so now you have all of your flowers painted in. And then this is the time where you can darken some of the others that you want. Okay, so I'm going to mix an extra red here on the side. Okay, I think it might be too much. Let's add in some orange. Okay, so I just want a deeper color for some of the flowers, the pointier ones. So I'm going to go over them and just add a layer of a deeper shade, and then again add water to the tips, and then just allow it to flow. So I just applied here at the base, and then I rinsed my brush and then added water and then just pulled the color outwards. Okay, so that's what I do. That's how I create my gradation. Okay, so all the pointier ones, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to apply here. So with this, you have to work quickly if you're working wet and dry, because once the pigment gets absorbed by the paper, you won't be able to move it, and it's going to leave a mark that you don't want. Okay, so that's what I do. I apply a thick mix, and then I add water to the edges and then slowly pull it up, and then it will of course move slowly, and then you have a gradation that's not too perfect, but which is what you actually want for more organic things. Personally, me, I like it because I like the texture that it gives my flowers. And you want that because, you know, that's one of the magic things of watercolor, is just how the pigment and the water just flow, what textures they create. Okay, so again, here I am pulling, and if you feel like it's too wet, just wipe it on your paper towel or a rag or whatever absorbent material you prefer to use. Hello, Bunny. Thank you for joining. Okay, so what else? Oh, I have another one here. So this will also give your flowers volume, and also it will differentiate it from the other flowers slightly. Gives your work more interest. Okay, so again, water to the edges. Pull the color slowly outwards, and just wipe the excess water on your paper towel. Because sometimes, you know, when there's a lot of pooling, it's so wet and it just disturbs everything. You also don't want that. So that's why it's really important to have your paper towel or sponge or whatever nearby. Okay, so let's add a little bit more here, just to let me just switch brushes. Okay, I'm going to switch to my rigger brush. Okay, this one. So this is from the fine line. This is 4/0 rigger, so very fine. I'm just going to go over the separation between the petals. So I want just a small brush so I can just do it softly, so it's not going to overwhelm the flowers. When the flowers are dainty, you don't want your lines to be too thick, because it's just going to take away from the fragility of the petals. Okay, so I'm just going to go over just lightly. So just more of suggestion. Okay, nothing too extreme. Okay, I will do for all these rounded petaled flowers. Okay, so I'm not making it reach to the middle. I'm not letting them all meet there, because I still need to add the center of these flowers. So very just suggestive, nothing too thick. That way you still keep the nice cute flowers. You know, sometimes when you're creating your stems and you just press too hard, But don't worry, just keep on doing it. With practice, you will get your progress and you'll get better. I know it's repetitive, but it's really the only way to go. So you're just training your body to someday be able to do it naturally. Okay, so now that we have this, we can now go to the middle of the flowers and add the dots in the center. Okay, so let me just switch brushes again. I just want a tiny one. So now this is the 5 round. Let's see if I like this, or maybe if it's too tiny. So you really have to explore your brushes. Okay, so I have my red, and I want to just make it not too dark. So let me just get some red, and then I'll add some green. Okay, so let me add some jade green so I can get my deeper red here. So that's one way that you can deepen the colors of your red, for example, red or orange. So if you feel like your red is too bright, you just add your green to it, the opposite color, and it'll give you a nice deep red. Okay, so this is the red, and then I added green, and now I have this nice red. I will just swatch it so you can see. Okay, so it's like an oxblood red. I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, you'll see it here when I apply it. Okay, so we'll use that for the center of the flowers. So what I'll do is I'll first wet the center lightly, then I'll get my mixture, and then I'll just dab. Okay, I think it might be too small. Okay, let me switch to a number 1 round. Okay, so again, just wet it. So you have to wet it enough, but not too much. Again, you want it glossy and not in a puddle. Okay, so I did the wet on wet for this so that the pigment will spread, so it's not, you know, really very hard dots, but rather soft dots. Okay, so let's do that for all our flowers. Okay. And then you can always go back to it later if you feel like you need more mixture. Okay, so again, hello, glad you're able to join. So don't worry, just give yourself time to work. Okay, so me, of course, I need to hurry it up a bit, the normal. I don't want to keep you here forever. But when you do this, take your time and just really enjoy the process, step by step. So center, wet it, then add your mixture, dot, 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 and then it will spread nicely. Okay, so this one is from the side, so I don't need to add anything there. Then dot. Okay. So I'm just fixing this first one. There you go. So I'll probably go in again later and add harder dots again to just give it more volume. but I'm gonna wait for it to dry. Okay, but something like what I did here. Okay, so remember, once you apply your first layer, give it some time, and then later on, once it dries, then you'll see if maybe you want to add more layer because it's gonna dry lighter. Okay, so everything you do, they're all gonna dry lighter. Okay, so now that your flowers are almost done, let's go and add the greenery. Okay, so again, I'm gonna pop out some colors here. So this is the greens are from the Vista set, and this one is jade green. So it's the one that I mixed also with the red. Okay, so I'll have some jade green and then some permanent green, and then I'll mix it with some of the yellow. Okay, so let's do our greenery. I'm gonna go back to my round brush because we are going to be doing, I'm gonna switch to a smaller round brush. Okay, since the leaves are smaller, again, I'm gonna go back to my soft round brush. Okay, so let's mix our greens. So I'll start with this the darker green leaves. Okay. Actually, this color looks great. Okay. So for green, if I want to deepen it, you can also add red or you can add brown. Okay, which I have here. So I'm just gonna try to get some sepia. Okay, so I have this more subdued green. It's perfect. So it's like this. Okay. Right, so now we can go and just use the tip of our brush and just start with the stems and then add the circular leaves of this. I think this might be a eucalyptus leaf. Yeah, okay. So just the tip, circle. So I like to do C, C, and then just fill in. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. So just get the general shape of the eucalyptus leaf. And anyway, if you take a look at them, they don't all look the same or have the same size. So you're all good. Okay, so I just dab back again if I want the color to be deeper. And again, you can always go back to it later and add another layer if you want to make some parts have a deeper shade. Okay, so I have this part down, and right now it looks a bit dark, but remember, it's gonna lighten. So that's the thing sometimes you mix and you're like, oh, I think it's too dark, but actually swatch it out and then see how dark or how light it dries. And then for some parts, you can also add a bit of yellow to add interest. You can add a yellow mixture on the side. You can make other parts a lighter color. Mix it up a bit. Which I will do here. So these parts will have a bit of a lighter, warmer tone. And then, if you feel like it's too warm, you can always glaze over it with the original shade and darken it a bit. But once you have several different shades of green, it's going to make your work look better. So I will make this lighter, but I want the stems to be dark still. Okay, so I'm trying to work around so I'm not smudging. I always smudge my work, so try to keep that in mind. Sometimes you're so into your work you really forget that some parts are still wet and you just smudge them. So don't be like me and save yourself from regret. Okay, so I'm gonna go mix again some of the darker parts here. So going back to my deeper green. Okay, and then the stems. So I'm going to now go over the parts where I haven't put the stem yet. Okay. And also the stems of the flowers. Let's not forget those. Okay. So it's really a lot of, you know, going around, starting with the flowers, then your leaves, then eventually the final details, the extra sprigs here and there, or whatever you like to add. But always, I like to start with the flowers, so I have that down, and it also gives you a better idea of how you're gonna frame around them. So don't forget the stems of your eucalyptus leaf. Okay, so lovely people, today is Valentine's. Did you celebrate it with your loved ones? How's your day? Well, me, basically, I'm just at home. So now I'm getting sepia with, I'm going to mix it with some of the yellow ochre, because I have like twigs here. Okay. So that's the thing about bouquets, right? When you buy the flowers, of course you can just buy just the flowers, but adding greenery to the bouquet, to the flowers, it just frames them and you know, adds even a more emphasis on them. So what are your favorite flowers, guys? Do you have flowers that you like to paint? Okay, so try not to overdo the other greenery or twigs or whatever surrounding your flowers. You don't want them to take away from your flowers. You want them to be just framing around, just making your flowers look better. So I'm just connecting it down to where I think it should fall. Okay. So of course, every now and then you're gonna see things that like, oops, I think I missed placing some details here. And I feel, oh, there should be another flower up here. Okay, so let me just add that as well. And then there's also the stem here. Okay, so let me add the flower that I missed. So you don't even have to sketch if you don't want to. If it's a more loose kind of flower, then you really don't. Okay, so now you have your first bouquet done. Now it's time for the vase at the lower part. So once you're starting out, so try not to go to the see-through vase, the glass vases yet. Okay, start with more opaque vases. That way you don't have to worry about the stems showing. So start with that and just focus on the flowers first. And then later on, once you're better, you're more confident with the flowers, then you can also do the glass vases. Okay, I'm going to wet this first. Okay, so make sure it's wet enough, but not puddling, just glossy. And then I'm gonna get some blue. Let's see. I'm gonna get some indigo. Okay, I like indigo. It's a cool blue. Okay, so I'm gonna get some indigo. And still, you can test it out to see if you like it. Okay, I like it. It's a nice cool blue. And I'm just going to apply it to the side. Okay, so all the work actually happens on your mixing plate. You do all your mixes, your preparation here. So you ready it all here before you go to your paper. So it's also nice to be able to learn how to mix your different colors and try them out and swatch them out. That way you can prepare before you actually put it on your paper, and you can still make changes. Okay, sometimes it may look nice in your head, but once you've applied it, okay, so I'm applying it more heavily on this side because let's just say that there's more light here. Okay, so just indigo. I'm happy with it. If you want to add more drama to it, you can add some kind of brown or gray. You can do that too. Let's just add some gray. Okay, up to you. But don't go overboard. Okay, so just suggestions here and there, and you're okay. Okay, so this is our first flowers in a vase. Again, if you feel like you want to add more, go ahead. But I like it. It's pretty enough and simple enough, but it's really cheerful. Okay, so let's go to the other one, a more compact arrangement. Okay, so let's go and do the pinkish mixes first. Okay, let me just move things in my desk. All right, so I'm going to mix a more, let me just, there's some dust. Okay, so I'll use my red that I have here. This is Herol Red. Okay. And then I'm going to add some white to it. Okay, I like it, looks good. Okay, so it's pinkish. Okay, so let's start with the pinkish flowers. Well, they're all pinkish, so, and then let's switch to a bigger brush. Okay, where is it? Oh, it fell down. So for this one, I want some white here and there. I want some petals to be lighter. So you just go back and forth to your water, your paper towel, and that's how you get your darker to light mixtures. Okay, so you just need to take your time. Just get the shapes right. Okay, rinse, add water. So you get a darker to lighter shade very quickly. Okay, so first flower done. Well, the first layer of the first flower done. Okay, let's move on to the next. So again, I want some petals to be darker with some white unpainted. Some petals with a lighter mix. Okay, so that's the nice thing about loose painting. It's you can really let it loose, just as long as you get the general shape of your flowers. You can really have fun. You can fully explore your flower painting. Okay, so as you can see, I like to apply colors more saturated. Then I rinse my brush a bit, and then I go back to it with clean water on the edges and just pull it down. So really, a lot of going back and forth. You're always traveling. Okay, so for this, some flowers that are still blossoming, some parts will have a deeper color, like the outside, the under. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with the inner part that you see. So this flower is not viewed from like this, but from like that. So the under petals, and then some of the petals from the inside. Okay, and this one as well. It's similar to this. Okay, and now we have a deeper outside area. So let's add our red. Let's add a bit of orange. And then a bit of white. Okay, now it's too light. Okay, so keep mixing until you get your desired color, and then swatch it out, and then see if you like what you have. Okay, so I think I've got it. And then I swatch it. Okay, a bit more white. Okay, let's see. Okay, there you go. So let's apply it now to the outer petals. Okay, here too. So for this, I'm just really using the tip of my brushes. Unlike with the rose that we did before, where I would actually press on the brush. For this, it's more of the the upper part of the brushes only. Okay, and then I'll add water here and there just to lighten some parts. So I also like to do this. I like to lift off some color. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm going to use the same color to add some extra volume here. Just like what I did here, where I apply it to the base and then pull it out. So if it's just a very light mix, you don't even have to rinse your brush. Just dab it on your paper towel. So I'm going to do this for each petal. Okay, so it's really a step-by-step. But actually, if you break it down, it's not so complicated. It's just it seems like there's a lot of steps. But once you keep on doing this, it's going to be more natural to you, like what to do first, next. So just keep doing it and just keep trying it out. Okay, so earlier it's just this flat pink, so we just added this detail, this extra thing where we start at the center and then we pull the color outwards. So immediately the flower looks more three-dimensional. Okay, so let's do that here as well. We start at the center, wipe, pull, wet your brush, even pull it further outwards, and just keep repeating it. So just the same step, you just have to keep repeating it. So I like when there's some white showing through. It adds texture to your flowers. So not everything has to be covered 100%. I used to paint like that in school, and then I realized, like, you know, seeing some white showing through actually looks great. It gives your eyes some breathing room as well. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so what we do now, we add the center. So I'm going to start here because this is dry, and also because this spread a little, so I'm just going to fix that. Okay, so using the same method we did here, a deeper red. I actually have some here, so I'm just going to reawaken it. So remember what we did earlier, we just used red and then added green, also a deep green. Okay, but now it's too much. Okay, let's go back to the red. Okay, so it's really a lot of color mixing. Okay, so don't be afraid to just take your time to create your mixtures. Okay, so let me do the dots. This one, I'm gonna do this, dots. Okay, so since the center was still kind of wet, it's gonna spread a bit, which is something that I want. Okay, and for this, I'm gonna spread it outwards a bit. So just the tip of my brush, just create very small lines, pulling the color slightly outward. Okay, there you go. So now our flowers are done. Okay, well, as far as right now, anyway, later you can take a look at it and you can see if you want to add extra details, like for for example, defining the petals and such. But right now it looks done enough. Okay, and now we can go to the leaves. Okay, so we'll have two different kinds, a lighter color and then a darker one. Okay, let me just clean this. Okay, so we'll have our jade green again. So it's a nice dark green, but I want to darken it further. So like what I did earlier, I just added sepia to it. Okay. Okay, so I like how dark this is. Or sometimes you can also add black, okay, if you have black in your palette. Okay, so some leaves are green and dark green, and some are lighter. So anyway, they don't overlap. I'm not going to layer them, so I can start with a dark. But if you're uncomfortable doing that, you can start with a lighter green and work your way towards the darker one. Okay, so it's just showing up here and there, showing through behind the flowers. So just be careful not to paint too much over your flowers. So take your time painting around them. Anyway, this is wet and dry, so you can take your time. So if you feel like you still need more control, then you switch to an even smaller brush and take your time. Just be sure to paint in one direction, so that don't paint here and then leave it there with a space that you still need to paint and then go to the other side. Once that dries, it's going to create a weird line that you don't want. So just keep painting and then overlapping over the last section that you painted. Okay, so one green down. So the stems will also be dark green, so I can already add here. And then go down. Okay, so this one is green as well, dark green. So if you mixed your colors, just if you know that you're going to be using a lot of it, just prepare so that you don't have to stop midway and then mix, and then, you know, things have dried up, things like that. So just prepare enough mixture so that you don't have to stop midway somewhere you don't want to. Okay, and now I'm just being careful not to touch the handle of this container. And we have some dark green here as well. So for this one, there's less white space in between the flowers. Okay, then we have another one here. So if you have more than one kind of green, it's really going to help with your composition. It's going to make it look more full, more interesting. Okay, and then we'll just add another one here just to break the light green leaves later on. Okay, so now we'll go to the lighter green. So let's mix some of that here. some red with jade green. Some red, sorry, some yellow. What? Okay, so that's a nice light green. Okay. This actually is too bright for me, so I'm just going to add yellow ochre instead with the jade green. Okay, so try your different yellows and see what you like best, because depending on what yellow you use, you'll get different kinds of green. If you're looking for a more muted green, then you probably don't want to use a bright yellow, or at least you want to mix it with some warm. Okay, so let me test this out. Okay, so I like this better. It's not too neon-y. So these are just a few, 3 or 4 leaves. And then we just need to add a line for the center, and then we'll be done. Oh, look at that, I forgot that one. Okay, let's go back to the one that we forgot. Okay, so for the center line, I'm just going to go and use a brown directly. Then green, just really deep. And just draw a line in the middle. Okay, let me switch brushes. It's too thick. Okay, so remember to switch around brushes, especially if you're doing small details. That way you will have more control on your details as well. Okay, and then I'm just going to go and use this green for the lighter green. So for some parts that you feel like are too light, you can just darken them. You add shadow. Like this, for example. So there's a lot of flowers and leaves clumping around this section, so I think it should be darker. Things like that. Okay. And it will add volume to your work. Make it look more real, even though it's loosely painted. So I'm adding some of the green here again, so that the leaf doesn't look so flat. And for parts that, you know, they're behind other leaves, will probably be in shadow, so you can make those darker as well. Okay, so just a little bit more, and we go to the vase. All right, I'm going back to my bigger round brush and just use the same technique here. Okay, first wet it. Make sure your brush is clean without other colors mixed in. Okay, I actually missed a leaf, but anyway, let's go back to that later. Let's do this first. Okay, so wet your whole shape, just the shape, don't go over, or not too much anyway. Just remember, if it's wet and we apply the paint, it will spread out. So if you go too much over your sketch, then this paint is going to spread beyond what you want. Okay, so let's start with the middle part first, and then again, using indigo, okay, which we have here. I'm going to apply here at the rim, where there will be shadow from the leaves and the flowers. Okay, and just outline the edges. And then here, more shadow. Outline the edge. So remember, it's still wet, so it will still give you time to work with. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm just going to manipulate the edges, remove what I don't like, make the paint spread further if I want, clean up this. So I just want like a slight outline made by the watercolor, but not like a line, but more of like the pigment spreading to the edges. Okay, and I like it. Okay, so I'll give this time to dry, or you can blow dry it, which I will quickly. Because otherwise the paint will spread to this part where I'm working on the other parts, which we don't want. Okay, so let's again do the same thing here. Just wet this spout. And then add the paint. So for this one, I'll add the shadow here. And just fix the edges. Okay. Add more color if you want a deeper line. And then, while it's still wet, you can manipulate it. Okay, and now let's move to the handle. Oh wait, let's add the center, the inner part. Okay. And now for the handle, I'm just going to do a wet and dry. since it's just a small space, so it's much easier to control. So I'm going to start with a deeper color, then rinse, then pull the color outwards for a lighter tone, then go back down here, and then add a deeper color. And then I'm just going to add a light line in the inner part, just very light, nothing extreme. And then I'll just soften it a bit in the edges. Okay, and since I forgot this leaf, let me just do this quickly. When there's so many things to do, sometimes you just lose track of some things. Okay, and there we have it. I'm going to add the other details later, so I'm not taking too long. All right, so we have our two vases in flowers in vases. I hope you learned something from me. I hope you try this out for yourself. It's really pretty easy. It's just a lot of layers, a lot of steps, but that's the way to do it. Something that may seem complicated, you break it down one step at a time, and then before you know it, it's finished and it looks great. So don't judge your work too early on. Remember, just the first layer, it's going to look really flat and bland, but the more layers you add and the more you work on it, but don't overwork, which I also do. Anyway, you'll find your nice point as long as you keep doing it. It's really the best way that you can learn. You just keep practicing, keep experimenting. Keep color mixing, because the colors that you get, you never know until you explore them, especially when creating your greens, your different blues that you need, for example. So just keep mixing and have fun with it. Okay, we should make mistakes because that's how we learn. So if you make mistakes, forgive yourself and just keep moving forward. Okay, so now I hope this is my happy Valentine's Day to you guys. Something that you can give as a Valentine's Day present, and something that you can do all year round as well. So that's the nice thing about flowers. It's for every day. Okay, so I'm just going to pop back to my face so I can say goodbye to you guys. Let me zoom out because it's probably zoomed in super. Okay, so this is my Valentine, or not Valentine exactly, anytime, but especially for Valentine's, flowers in a vase. Okay, so thank you for joining me and sticking it out. I know it took long, but I'd rather give you the whole thing. Okay, so I hope you try it out, and if you do share it with the group, because I'd love to see it. And if you need advice and things like that, just ask me anytime. Me and Theodora are always there to answer you guys. Okay, so happy Valentine's Day, everyone, and have a great day. Bye.